We do, depending on the market segment, need more or less complicated policies and regulatory instruments. Those have to be in place as the basis for business models. In order to realize those business models, and then that's a second success factor that I would like to mention, we need partnerships. We need partnerships between private sector companies for joint project development, for know-how transfer, and so on and so forth. The third aspect that I would like to highlight is that we have a challenge in having good projects that are bankable projects. So we need support to project preparation, to take them from the idea to a stage where they can be financed. We need financial instruments that can absorb the financing needs from those projects. The financing instruments, they will have to be tailored, and a lot of work needs to be done there. My preferred way of capacity development would be the kind of capacity development that takes place in a joint business undertaking. So when private partners have found each other, that kind of know-how transfer, the kind of internal training that can take place in such a kind of a setup is probably ideal. And we as development partners have a responsibility to support that. We can, of course, also think about vocational training. That's another very important aspect. The professional qualification of solar technicians, of installers, and so on and so forth. What I would definitely not like to forget is the business models. Everybody is always talking about technology. It's not just about the technology. It's also about knowing how to make a business out of it. And that is also something that can be taught, that can be trained through capacity development. Well, the private partners are the agents of this transformation that I do think we see and we will see happening even further in the future in solar energy. The know-how, the products, the contacts, the access to the projects, the financing, all those elements are present with different types of private partners. And the question that we're facing as development partners, what can we do in order to unleash that potential, in order to make a private sector or help private sector explore those opportunities? The question of financing, the question of the costs of electricity, say from the solar source, it differs according to the products and the market segments that we're talking about. Let me highlight two. The first that I would like to talk about is the very small scale solar lanterns, which we call also Pico PV. Here it's about individual consumers, households or productive users, replacing conventional sources like kerosene with solar. Now the problem is that the solar investment is always upfront, the entire investment upfront, whereas for a traditional kerosene lamp, the costs, they stretch out over a long period of time because of the operating costs, because of the costs for the purchasing of the fuel. Now for a rural household in a country like Kenya, it's a huge challenge to be able to afford, say, a $30 solar lantern. So here's a role to play for microfinance institutions to bridge that gap, and then for us development partners to build the capacity again of the microfinance institutions and to endow them with the capital that they need to roll out products designed and targeted at those market segments. A feeling that I have that is general across us development partners is that we tend to rely too much on the kind of meeting we have at the policy level, and that we could benefit all more from a direct exchange with the private sector or with public-private entities or public entities who are working on the ground, who are doing the investment towards market development. Our objective should not be to focus on projects so much. Projects are nice and good and something that one can touch and count. However, our objective should be contributing to sustainable and sustained market development. And a specific advice that I would have here is to engage with the partners that are working on the ground, ideally through mandated and equipped bodies present in the partner countries. Here I cannot highlight enough the role that industry associations could play as a vehicle for outreach to both the private sector on the one hand and the public sector on the other hand. Because what I do think what needs to happen is that we need to bring together the two perspectives from private sector and public sector in a dialogue, so that we can establish together the frameworks that are needed to unleash the business models, to unleash the investment. And as development partners, as also the EU delegations, this is where we have a role to play.